Lowering your Mustang has always been very popular with Mustang enthusiasts for a variety of reasons. One big one is looks. A lowered Mustang just simply looks better, but also performance. That lowered Mustang is going to lower your center of gravity and make the car perform a lot better. In front of me, I have the three most common ways to lower your Mustang: your conventional spring, your coilover, or your air suspension. Today we're going to discuss the pros and cons of all three, and you can determine which one's best for your Mustang. Conventional coil spring is going to be the most common way to lower your Mustang. There's a bunch of reasons for that, but when it comes to the coil spring, you basically have a couple different options. You got your dual rate spring, your progressive spring, and then your specific rate spring, again, based on different applications. We have a video that goes into all that. But as far as the spring goes, these are very common for a bunch of reasons. One being cost. This will be the least expensive way to lower your Mustang. It's also probably one of the simplest to do, and you get a decent ride quality out of it, and you get a specific lowered height. Now, again, we have this teamed up with a Coney strut here, where if you are lowering your Mustang, considering upgrading the shocks and struts at the same time will improve the ride. Now, do you have to? Absolutely not. Most of the lowering springs we're going to sell here at CJ's will work with your stock suspension. It may not be the optimum setup, but it's still going to work. Now, the cons to these is there's really no adjustment. However low your car gets with this coil spring is pretty much how it's going to be. So you are limited there. You can't raise it, you can't adjust it. But again, for the price, conventional lowering springs are very popular for a reason. The next option we're going to take a look at is the coilover. Now, the coilover name comes from the fact that the coil mounts over the body of the shock or strut. Now, coilovers are very popular with Mustang enthusiasts for a variety of reasons. The biggest reason, though, is adjustability. The coilover, because of the spring mounting on this perch, is going to allow you to adjust the height. So by adjusting this collar up or down, you'll actually be able to dial in that ride height exactly where you want it. The spring rate is also perfectly matched to the strut, which is also adjustable. So again, you get a ton of adjustability and you still get a very, very good ride out of the coilovers. If there's any cons to the coilovers, in some cases they can be a bit on the noisy side, and the adjustability as far as height-wise, while it is possible to adjust it, it can be very time consuming. You do have to jack the car up, get a proper wrench, and adjust this up and down to get the ride height just perfect. But again, coilovers are relatively inexpensive and they provide a great ride, and again, tons of adjustability. The last option we're going to discuss is going to be air suspension. Now, air suspension has been around in the truck world for a long time. It's still relatively new to Mustang, but it has a huge following for a variety of reasons. Now, the air suspension is going to have a collar like the coilover, so you do have adjustable height as far as the body goes, but the big adjustment is going to be right here, where your spring is replaced by an airbag. So having the air suspension means that you can adjust the pressure to this bag, and that way that'll lower the car or even raise the car up. So again, one of the huge benefits here is you've all seen them in a car show. You can lower the car to the ground with air suspension, which looks great at the show. Hit a switch, the car's gonna raise up to ride height and you can drive home. Again, infinite amount of adjustment with this at the flick of a switch. Now, some of the drawbacks to this is gonna be there's a lot of moving parts. You're gonna have to have a compressor, you have an air tank, and then obviously the airbags themselves. There's a lot of airlines, a lot of things that can go wrong there. The other negative is the price. Because there's a lot going on with air suspension, the cost of entry is a bit on the higher side. But again, you've got a dial-inable ride height and dialable ride quality. By adjusting the pressure in the bag, you can make the car also ride a lot better, but you can also stiffen it up for performance, making air very popular. Now, whichever way you decide to lower your Mustang, just keep in mind there's a few other things you want to consider. And especially in the front end, you want to make sure you have ways to adjust caster and camber. Now, some of these kits, such as the airlift, have adjustable plates already on them, but some more conventional systems are not going to, so you want to make sure you can do that. Also, for the S550, you want to make sure you have rear camber adjustment, because the lower you go, the more your rear wheels are going to actually tuck in on the S550 suspension. Also, for the 05 through 14 crowd, if you lower the car, you're going to want to get an adjustable panhard bar. As you lower the car, the rear will actually offset. That panhard bar will allow you to bring it back centered. Again, something you want to do if you lower the car. One more thing you also want to consider are adjustable sway bar end links. Now, some of these kits will come with them, but the lower you go, the more preload you're going to put on those sway bars, which actually make them not work like they're supposed to. So again, once you lower the car and figure out the way you want to do it, make sure you consider some adjustable end links as well. Now again, we showed you three most popular ways of lowering your car. And again, there are pros and cons of all of them. Whichever way you decide to go, we got all the parts you need here at cjponyparts.com.